Hello, my name's Darren Holmes, and in my last video on Chapter 5, we built a set of traffic lights. It was just a single row of traffic lights with a push button for a Puffin intersection. That was a pedestrian-friendly intersection where the buzzer sounds and the red light is extended. So going on the internet and looking for a picture of a standard intersection, you can see we have one road which goes north-south, and it's red right now. And then we have an east-west road that intersects, and those lights are green right now. So what I'd like to do is upgrade my traffic light system to have a north-south and an east-west set of traffic lights. So when I originally built my traffic lights, I moved my LEDs to the bottom of the board using this ground bus. That way it leaves space for me to have a second set of traffic lights along the top. So I'm going to call the bottom set of traffic lights my north-south traffic lights, and the top set will be my east-west traffic lights. So I'm going to show you what that looks like on my breadboard now. So you can see I've added my second set of traffic lights. So the first set is going to be my north-south traffic lights. The second set will be my east-west traffic lights. You'll notice that I moved the switch, so instead of wiring it up on this side of the Pico board, I actually put it underneath the board. So the switch is still going to pin 21. The red LED goes to pin 22 through this 330 ohm resistor. Keep in mind this is the long leg of the LED. The short leg of the LED goes into the ground bus. So this is pin 21, pin 22, pin 23 is the ground. So I've moved my ground wire down here just to show you that that is the ground pin. So pin 24 goes to this yellow lead. The yellow lead goes to this 330 ohm resistor, and this 330 ohm resistor goes to the long lead of the yellow LED. The short lead goes into the ground bus. And finally, pin 25 goes to the green wire. The green wire goes down to this last 330 ohm resistor. And that 330 ohm resistor goes to the long lead of the green LED. The short lead of the green LED goes into the ground bus. So that's how I would wire up my two sets of LEDs on my trainer. So going back to Appendix B for the pinout guide, I showed you my switch is connected underneath the Pico board to pin 21, so my switch is GPIO 16. Next, my red LED is connected through a resistor to pin 22, which is GPIO 17. I showed you the ground on pin 23. Then I had the yellow wire going to the yellow LED on pin 24, which is GPIO 18. And finally, the green LED going through the green wire is connected to pin 25, which is GPIO 19. So you'll remember in Chapter 5, I kind of introduced you to the Puffin algorithm, and I wrote it out for you. So now we're going to come back in here, and we're actually going to change it. So this is now going to be our north, south, and east, west algorithm. So we're going to load the libraries. We have to define the pins. So we've got north, south pins, and we have east, west pins. So I'm going to show you right now how I'm going to change that in my code. So this is my code that I developed for the Chapter 5 traffic lights with the Puffin controller in here. So I'm going to save this as a new file. So I'm going to go to File, Save As, Raspberry Pi Pico, and I'm going to go down here where it says Puffin Traffic Lights, and in here I'm going to put in underscore north, south, east, west. So these are my new traffic lights. So I've given it a new name. One of the things that I'm going to do is in my variable names here, I got LED red. I'm going to call it LED R north south. So I'm going to do the same thing with the amber and the green. Now I'm going to change the spacing here just to line them up so that they look nice. So I've got red going north-south, amber north-south, and green north-south. So I just got to go through my code and see if they show up anywhere else. Okay, so I've changed the name of my LEDs so that all my LEDs are labeled as north-south. So somehow I have to come along here and put in the east-west LEDs. So this is going to be a little bit tricky. So one thing I know I have to do is put the pin numbers down. So I can copy all of these LEDs right here where I define the pin out for them. I can do a right-click copy, and then underneath here I can do a right-click paste. So these ones are going to be the east-west. So remember that 16 went to the button, so 17 went to the east-west red. So this one becomes 17. 18 went to the east-west amber. And 19 went to the east-west green. Okay, so next thing I did in my program is set my global variables. I defined my button thread, so I don't need to make any changes there. We started the button procedure in a new thread. So you'll remember in my code, I actually initialized the pin outputs for safety. I didn't write that in my algorithm. So right in here, I took care of safety. So I need to show you how I'm going to do that in the program. So right here on line 27, 28, and 29, I need to copy those and do a paste and put a blank line in there. So the red east-west, the amber east-west, and the north east-west. Okay, so down here I said if button pressed, turn on red LED. So what I want to do here is I want the north-south and east-west LEDs to both be red. So that's on line 37 now, so I'm going to copy that, put in a blank line, and I want the east-west to be red as well. So you can see in my algorithm my normal traffic light sequence. Now this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky. So I had the red on for 5 seconds, I have the green on for 5 seconds, and I have the amber on for approximately 1 second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a little table and see what that looks like on a table. So you can see north-south. I've written down the sequence in my code for the traffic lights. I go red, I go green, and I go amber. And after amber it turns red and repeats. So over on my east-west, what's going to be happening? Well, we're going to have green, and then it's going to turn amber, and those two happen while the other side is red. So that's kind of important. And then the east-west is going to be red, and that's while north-south is green and amber. Now there's a couple things to note here, and that is at the beginning of time both of these lights are going to be red. So I have red, red. So now I've got to start thinking of the timing. So my red was 5 seconds and my green was 5 seconds. So if my red is 5 seconds and my green is 5 seconds, over here we want the green to be 5 seconds and we need the red to be 5 seconds. So it's not going to fit. So if I have my green for 5 seconds and my amber for 1 second, that means I need my red to be red for 6 seconds. So then on this side I have my green for 5 seconds and my amber for 1 second. So over here I need my red for 6 seconds. So I need them both to be red for a period of time, so let's put in 0.25 seconds. So that'll give them a margin of safety when they're both starting up. So over here in Thonny, under normal traffic light sequence, I'm going to copy this line and this is going to be my east-west. And we're going to give them a sleep of 0.25. So that's where they overlap. So when I write the code for this, I can't have one on for 6 seconds and one on for 5 seconds. So I'm going to have to break this 6 seconds down into a 5 second and a red for 1 second. So now these two equal each other. And then down here I can't have green on for 5 seconds and red on for 5 seconds. So they're both going to have to be on for 5 seconds, and then I'll do a red for a further 1 second. So now you can see that they line up on both sides. Now I'm going to get rid of these commented out lines that are for the UK and Ireland because they're only going to confuse us. Okay, so I've got my LED red north-south on, LED red east-west on, and I'm going to sleep for 25 seconds. So that's the first line done. The second line, I need the red and the green east-west. So LED red east-west has to go off. The LED green east-west has to go on. And because the red light was already on in north-south, it's going to stay on in north-south. So I'm going to let it sleep for 5 seconds. So that's the second line done. Then my LED green east-west has to go off, and my LED amber east-west has to go on, and the north-south red LED is still on, so then I'm going to put it to sleep for 1 second. So that's the first 3 lines covered. So the red LED for north-south has to go off, and the green LED for north-south has to go on. The amber LED for east-west has to go off, and the red LED for east-west has to go on, and then we're going to sleep for 5 seconds. So that's the next line completed. So then finally, the LED for green north-south has to go off, and the LED amber for north-south has to go on. And the red LED for east-west is already on, so we can just leave it on, and then we're going to do a U-time sleep for 1 second. So that completes the last line of our code. So we've completed our table, and there's one last thing I want you to think about. The last thing that we've done here is the red east-west is on, and the amber north-south is on. So when we come back up and restart our loop, we're going to have the red north-south on and the red east-west on. So we need to turn off that amber LED that we left on. So down here we're going to add a final line 69 that says LED amber north-south off. So that light won't be left on when we go back and redo our loop. So I'm going to run this and show it to you on my trainer board. So you can see I've got the red light on, and the green goes to yellow, then red, and then this green light comes on. So they're going a little bit fast, so you might want to increase the time delay on those. But I seem to have the right sequence going. So I'm going to try the crossing. So now we have two sets of traffic lights working. They're not perfect, but they're pretty darn close to what you would see in the real world. There's always room for improvement. So I hope one of the things I've shown you is the usefulness of an algorithm and how we can modify our pseudocode to upgrade a program, and also use a table if we need to chart things out to find a sequence that works for us. So please don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.